Good morning. In today's news analysis is presented by Ashutosh Kumar Shah of CSE, third semester. Nagaland government to write center on AFSPA rebel. Hornbill festival called off. Following the killing of 14 civilians by security forces in Mon district over the weekend, an emergency sitting of the Nagaland cabinet on Tuesday decided to appeal to the Home Ministry to repeal the Armed Forces Powers Act (AFSPA). The meeting, chaired by the Chief Minister Neefu Rio on Tuesday, also decided to call off the ongoing Hornbill Festival and directed the Special Investigation Team (SIT) to complete its investigation into the incident within a month. Briefing the media following the meeting, Nivea Kronu, Minister of Planning and Parliamentary Affairs and Nagaland Government spokesperson, and Temjen Imna Along, Ministry of Higher and Technical Education, said the cabinet was briefed about the action taken following the killing, including the setting up of the SIT headed by IG rank officer and grant of ex gratia to the next of the kin of the 14 victims. AFSPF is renewed periodically and it is not a subject matter that is handled by the state. The sender decides on this in consultation with the state. So it was decided in the meeting that we will appeal to the government of India to repel AFSPA from Nagaland, said Along. While attending the funeral of the 14 civilians on Mount Town on Monday, CM Nephew Rio had backed the demand for a repeal of AFSPA. The minister said Nagaland government was planning to hold a meeting of the core committee of Naga political issues on December 9th. Assam CM and Northeast Development Authority Chairman Himanta Biswa Sarma is likely to attend the meeting. People being killed following a case of mistaken identity or on the basis of misinformation is very unfortunate. The investigation agency will come out with a report. We have given SIT 1 month to complete the probe, Kronu said. He said 14 civilians have died in the incident, while two with serious injuries are undergoing treatment in Assam, and six are being treated in Dimapur. On the Hornbill Festival, he said all the activities of Hornbill Festival 2021 should cease in view of mourning announced for the deceased in the firing incident in Mon district. The Hornbill Festival, an annual 10-day tourism extravaganza held at Naga Heritage Village in Kisama near Kohima, was scheduled to end on December 10th. Six civilians, coal mine workers from Oting village, on their way from work in Tiru, were killed in an ambush by security forces in Nagaland Mon district. The incident triggered violence in the area Saturday night and late Sunday afternoon, in which eight more civilians were killed after security forces allegedly opened fire. A soldier succumbed to the injuries in the violence Saturday night, and several others were severely injured. A suo motu FIR filed on Sunday by the officer in charge of Tizit police station in Mon district. The intention of the security force was to murder and injure civilians. India could see mild COVID-19 third wave by the early next year. Experts. India could see a mild third wave which will peak in the early part of the next year, according to experts who have been modeling the pandemic. The determination was made by the government backed Sutra model, short for Suspectable, Undetected, Tested, and Removal approach, helmed by the Professor Mahendra Agarwal of IIT Kanpur. The model shows that outbreak may peak around the first week of February before case numbers start to decline. Professor Agarwal stated that the peak of the mild third wave could see between 1 to 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh infections per day in India. In contrast, the country was registering about 4 lakh cases per day at the peak of the second wave. There are two reasons why the third wave could be mild. Notably, natural immunity brought about by the fact that nearly 80% of the Indian population was infected in the second wave, plus rising the vaccination drive, said Professor Agarwal. Although a recent study in South Africa indicates that Omicron is capable of bypassing natural immunity at three times the rate of the Delta variant. Professor Agarwal said that even this increased the rate of bypass is too limited to play a role in driving of infections. If 1 in 100 cases infected with the Delta variant were reinfections, the South African studies show that 3 in 100 cases could be reinfections prompted by Omicron. This is still a small rate, he said. And the South Africa study also shows that about 11% of the population was reinfected over a period of 14 months. This shows that the rate of loss of immunity is minuscule, and even an increase by a factor of 1.5 would hardly move the needle, and we conclude that Omicron is not bypassing natural immunity in any significant way, he clarified. He added that the potential new wave could also be cut down to size by a mild lockdown, comprising a night curfew and restrictions on crowding. These measures will reduce the peak value of the wave, he said. Meanwhile, uh, at the moment, there is no spurt of cases, and it has been quite even, though it appears that this variant seems to have been around for a while. As Dr. Agarwal, however, pointed out that Sutra simulation suggests the presence of a new mutant that was active by August in South Africa. However, even the case of Delta, it took some time to blow up as it did and trigger the second wave. Delta was first found in October 2020, but only became a threat in March this year. This is why we are seeing only a slow increase to Omicron at present, he said. Meanwhile, clinical experts noted that so far the variant has only produced mild symptoms in affected individuals, despite concern about a Frankenstein mix of new mutations. Moving on, next news. Why Russian troops are on Ukraine border and why West is concerned. The tension on the Russia-Ukraine border represent a major security crisis for the region, with the potential to snowball into a border conflict. Ukraine says that Russia has amassed around 90,000 troops at the border, and US intelligence reports say that a Russian invasion of Ukraine is possible as early as next month. Russia has shown as recently as 2014 that it is not averse to taking military action in Ukraine. In that year, Russia seized Crimea from Ukraine in what was the first time a European country annexed territory from another country since World War II. What was Russia's and the West's interest in Ukraine? Ukraine and Russia share hundreds of years of culture, linguistic, and familial links. As part of the Soviet Union, Ukraine was the second most powerful Soviet republic after Russia and was crucial strategically, economically, and culturally. Ever since Ukraine split from the Soviet Union, both Russia and West have vied for greater influence in the country in order to keep the balance of power in the region in their favor. For many, Russia and in the ethically Russian part of Ukraine, the shared heritage of the country is an emotional issue that has been exploited for electoral and military purposes. For the United States and European Unions, Ukraine is crucial buffer between Russia and West. As tension with Russia rise, the US and the European Union are increasingly determined to keep Ukraine away from Russian control. Efforts to induct Ukraine into NATO has been ongoing for many years and seems to have picked up pace recently. Russia has declared such a move a red line, with Moscow worried about the consequences of the US led military alliances expanding right up to its doorstep. What was Euromaidan and its aftermath? November 2013 saw the start of mass protests across Ukraine, but particularly in Kiev's Maidan on Central Square, protesters were angry at Ukraine, then pro-Russia President Viktor decisions to join the Russia-led Eurasian Economic Union instead of the EU. The protester, known as Euromaidan movement, saw massive clashes between the protester and security forces that reached its peak in February 2014 and led to the ouster of Yanukovych. Soon after, amid fears of growing Western influence in Ukraine, Russia decided to take action in invading Crimea, which was part of Ukraine. Moscow also began fomenting a separatist movement in eastern Ukraine, which is home to many who are ethnically Russian. The invasion and subsequent annexation of Crimea have given Russia a maritime upper hand in the region. It also gave President Putin a significant boost in the popularity ratings inside Russia. However, it was widely commended by world powers and resulted in the US and European Union imposing sanctions on Moscow. It also resulted in a certain commitment by both the US and the European Union to protect the integrity of Ukraine borders. So, what is happening now? As it moves a large number of troops towards the border, Russia seeks assurance from the US that Ukraine will not be inducted into NATO. However, US President Joe Biden has made it clear that he is not prepared to give any such assurance, and this has left the countries in a standoff, with tens of thousands of Russian troops ready to invade Ukraine at a short notice, and the West not budging in on Russia's demand. Putin and Biden are set to talk via video link on Tuesday, and many experts believe that Russia is keeping the tensions high at the Ukraine border in order to get sanctions relief and other concessions from the West. Frantic diplomats' efforts involving US, European, Ukrainian, and Russian officials are underway to avoid military actions. However, depending on what Putin's intentions are, experts say sanctions may not be enough to deter him. Any kind of military action by the US or European Union against Russia would precipitate a major crisis for the whole world and has so far not been muted by any of the parties involved. That's all for today's news analysis. Thank you and have a nice day.